So next we will be moving on to marketplace, and please welcome Bogi, who will be doing your marketplace. Amen. um, and so this month of May, I will be taking you through the marketplace. I hope the slides come up. The topic they've given me is navigating your career. I don't know why they trusted me with it, and so over the next few weeks, the 4 weeks that are coming, we'll be covering certain topics. The first one we're going to do today is getting started, which is the journey ahead. The second week, we will do building your career one skill at a time. The third week is the power of sponsorship, mentorship, and networking. And then the last week is that where to from here. So after I have sort of shared with you all of those nuggets, where to from here, because wisdom is the application of knowledge, and so part of it is to say then what is next, right? Amen. All right, so this week I said we will do navigating your career, which is essentially getting started. And there are several questions we're going to answer as we go. This week we're going to answer the question around what inspired you to choose your current career path, which is essentially how do you start? Where did you start? Amen. Quickly, just to define career. So career is a path or a profession that one chooses. It can require extensive education or also extensive skilling. For instance, like your plumbing jobs, electrician, that requires, in addition to normal, education, there's also a level of skilling that happens. It is something that you're going to be doing regularly for most of your life and could also become the main way of making money. That's the Cambridge Dictionary. Now, what I have done is I have spent, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, doing a dissertation, a master's dissertation in navigating your career. So what I did is I went and I spoke to about 20 people, and I just asked them, tell me about how you navigated your career, because I was like, there's nothing fascinating about me, so I'm sure I'll get nuggets from other people. Amen. And as you can see on the screen, there are different profiles of different people and how they've navigated it, and so every single week I will share with you bits and pieces of their journey of how they've done this. You will get to meet Mpo, who's a mining engineer who's in the production and mining open cast. You will get to meet another Mpo that I've titled number 14, Khadima. She's a mining engineer, drill blast engineer, who is now an automation systems engineer. You will meet Amu, who has a PhD in genetics, but interestingly enough does strategic work. And then you will meet Karabo, not me, but a Karabo friend. She's a CA who decided she doesn't want to do corporate, and so instead said, hey, she wants to be in academia, and so she's a senior lecturer. And then you will meet Naledi. By training, she was a lawyer, but she decided, the calling of God for her life is to be a teacher. And so you can tell that the most common thing that I saw as I was speaking to a lot of them is that there's actually no straight path to how you start your career. And that is important because a lot of the times we tell people, do X, you will end up at Y. There are some careers where you do X, you'll end up at Y. If you want to study medicine, I can't tell you to study accounting in high school. I have to set the base for you. But career, like the journey of how you build your career has advanced so much in our lifetime that I can start as a teacher and end up as a scientist researcher somewhere else. It's not one path. There are many paths that will get you there. Amen. And so from speaking to them, there are 6 main things that I've come up with in terms of like what have been the path or the decisions that have guided them. The first one is that you need to study yourself. The second one is to seek guidance. The third one is to try out stuff. The fourth is to seize opportunities. The fifth is to be curious. And the sixth one is to define long-term success for yourself. And those were just what I've come up with when I'm speaking to them. So I'm going to try and unpack it as quickly as possible for you. The first one around studying yourself. What does that look like? And 2 main things came out of that. One is that your passion can help you to steer how you navigate between jobs. So your career is made up of a series of jobs, and sometimes you're going to do a series of those jobs that you're passionate about that ultimately will help to define the career. The second one is to then understand your lifestyle needs also. And when we speak about the passion, for example, Amu says she loves solving problems, and as a researcher she found she was solving problems, and so moving to management consulting was not a big thing for her, because in consulting you solve problems, and that's how she essentially navigated it. Lifestyle choices. Visa, she was a chemical engineer, and as an engineer, mostly a chemical or a mining engineer, you're going to find yourself in small towns, the one where there's just one street in town and all the shops are there, and that's essentially because a lot of the production and a lot of the stuff happen in those smaller towns. But she said, I've studied Chem-Eng, but I don't want to live in a small town. I want to live in a big city. And so because she understood her lifestyle, needs, she ended up deciding she's going to live in the city. But living in the city meant she can't practice as a chem engineer. And so she decided, I'm going to become an independent strategy consultant. So that is important in terms of how do you study yourself. The second one is around seeking guidance. Seeking guidance can take two forms. One is researching to find out what you're interested in. This can include talking to people, reading up on certain things. One person actually said to me they used to stalk people on LinkedIn, not stalk in a funny way, but like as in they would find people that do the kind of jobs they want to do, and then they would ping them and ask them questions about those things. And then also getting coaching. Sometimes you're not in the spaces you want to be in, but getting coaching in terms of like understanding what is the job, what does it entail. So for instance, if you want to become a communication specialist, you might get coaching from someone who does it, so you get a better sense of what does that look like, so that when the opportunity shows up, you are ready for it. And again, I've provided examples there of people. For instance, Mapula, she studied IT because she found out about IT from a mentor who said, hey, I know it's not a big thing right now, but in the future it's going to be a big thing, so you want to consider it, to study that, and that's how she ended up studying that degree. The third thing is to try out stuff. So the first thing is try things out, and if they don't work out, you can always pivot. A lot of the times we think our career needs to work out correctly the first time and it's okay. But for instance, if you take Puso, he was an attorney who did mergers and acquisition, and he realized, I hate, it's not what I find passion in. So he went into strategy consulting. And funny enough, this was a guy, when I met him, he was wearing suits, those tailored suits, even with like the initials on them. And you're like, this one, you'll never find him anywhere near dirt. And right now, Pastor Ian says it reminds him of somebody he knows very, very, very close to him. But essentially right now, he's a mining operations expert. And so now he has to wear safety boots. He has to wear overalls. And you see the difference in the jump that, it was something that he was just trying it out and he found it's what he likes. And then also you may have to take unconventional routes to paving your career. And this one is me. Yes, this one is me. And so funny enough, I studied science in high school, but I hated it. And so I decided I'm going to do a BCom accounting. And when I was doing accounting, I found out about economics. I'm like, oh my goodness, where has this been all my life? And that's how I pivoted in terms of like taking an unconventional route. I was able to take it because you can switch from sciences to commerce, but you can't switch from commerce to sciences. So it's very important if you're in high school to keep your options open. Take the subjects that will keep your options open so that if you're not sure, you can always pivot. The fourth thing is to seize opportunities, and I'm just going to list them. One is to understand the opportunities around you and seize them. Mpo did so by studying mining because there was a bursary opportunity. Today he finds he loves it. Merge your passions with what you already know. A detour is also a way to start your career, and you need to recognize those moments when the detour needs to happen. So for instance, Naledi studied law and then realized she actually wants to be a teacher, but she had to stick it out. She had to still finish the degree, so she had to still take the long way to come back again. But now she's a primary school teacher and she loves the job. and then use every opportunity to help determine what is interesting for you. So some of you will end up in jobs initially that you don't like, but figure out, why am I in that job? What is it that I can learn? And then it will help you to navigate to the next opportunity. Amen. The fifth one is curiosity. I cannot tell you enough about curiosity. Curiosity will open doors that you did not know about. So one is, if you are within your career right now, figure out and anticipate what are the shifts that are expected in that space, and then find out, how am I then going to add value. So for instance, if you are for instance, Mpho, who's a mining engineer, realized that mining is moving to all these digital and AI and automation, and she was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be left behind because we're no longer doing that, old type of mining. Went and researched about like all this automation stuff, and today she's a automation systems engineer. And then be curious about the value chain that extends beyond your career path. So for instance, some of us today, let's assume maybe you're a medical doctor. What is the extension beyond that? If you're a teacher, what is the extension beyond that? It does not just end at teaching. You could find yourself all the way, at university lecturing or tutoring or doing so many other things. So find out what the value chain is end to end, because that's where some of these opportunities are sitting. And then maintain a growth mindset and willingness to try out new things. Amen. And then the last one is to define long-term success for yourself. So think about today, what long-term success will look for you. So for instance, Moni initially was studying medicine, and then realized that, hang on, medicine is actually quite reactive in that the patient comes when the patient is sick. But for her, she was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do preventative care. And so she pivoted from studying medicine to then going to become a public specialist and a public health specialist and researcher, because she's like, I want to anticipate what people are going to go through and then figure out how to resolve it before it happens. And so those are the journeys of the 20 people. And I've taken you through the 6 things in terms of how they've decided to start their careers. I think the overarching message is there's no one way to start a career. You're going to have twists, turns, disappointments, highlights, lowlights, everything combined, but you have to be willing to take that first step. Amen. Thank you so much. I'm going to call on Pastor Don, who will be doing generosity teaching.